Hey guys, welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. Now today's game we have is something a little unique that is based off of an abstract kind of concept, but not only is it a game, but it is also a gaming mechanic or mechanism that you can use. This game is called Sedis by Nerfer Games. Sedis is a unique mechanical property. It involves using hexes that are simple and have little pips on them, and it reminds us kind of like games like a deck of playing cards, or similar to dominoes, with a lot of different, unique, and more modern twists. Now this game is actually heralded a long time ago by the Babylonians. It involves the number 60 as a very relevant core number, and that's why it includes 60 of these little hexagonal pieces with their pips. The game is made for 2 to 6 players, but there is solo variants within all the different games you can play in Sedis. And not only that, but you can also make up your own unique games with this gaming system. Now there are 3 games we have that come in this little book, but there's tons more that you can look up as well. Honeycomb is one of them, as well as Rings and Spokes that you can play with this specific one. So we'll go ahead and talk about a couple of these games in here and how they're played and how you would use different gaming elements to make the game in Sedis. So let's talk about Honeycomb right now. Alright guys, so when you get Sedis, this is what it's going to include. Now there's obviously different packages you can purchase on the Kickstarter that will involve how many of these guys you get or the different qualities and stuff. So right now what I have is obviously a bag for all of the components, little hexes, as well as the game manual, which has 3 unique games in there. And you go ahead and take them all out, and you go ahead and set up a stack. Now I set up a nice smaller stacks, which it doesn't really make a difference if you have one big stack or a bunch of small ones. So I set up like this to make it easier. The first game we're going to talk about is Honeycomb. Honeycomb is a very simple game, and where each player is going to pick up 2 pieces and place them on the board, attaching them just like so in any order they would like. And then each player is going to get 5 of these little hex tiles. After each player has gotten 5 of the hex tiles, the game is going to begin and somebody's going to go first. In Honeycomb, it's very simple. You don't show your other players your hand, and you go ahead and look, and you're trying to match up pips. So if there's 1 pip here and 1 pip here, you're trying to place these tiles down so that the pips will match to gain a certain amount of points. So for instance here, if I would have placed this one here, this pip would match right there, which would give me 1 point, but no pips here would match, so I'd only get 1 point. And I'd use a pen or paper, and I'd go ahead and mark something down to indicate that I got 1 point. I would end my turn by simply placing these guys down like this and drawing a new one of these tiles here. And the next player would go, and they would look at theirs and try and see if they can find something that's going to give them quite a bit of points. Here's one that's going to be good. Just like that. And you can see there's 2 pips here and no pips over here. So this person would get 2 pips. They put their things down, they draw a new tile, and once again it'd be this player's turn. And they're going to keep playing this game, just picking up pieces and looking around to see what they can get, if they can get any good points. Ooh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How about this one right there? There's 1 pip over here on this side, 1 over there. That's going to give me 2 points, and I'd pick up a new pip. And play would continue like that, making a very big board. And this board is going to continue to grow as there are tiles until all the tiles are done. And then in which case you're going to go ahead and score the points for each player. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game, making this beautiful looking little honeycomb shape, is going to be the winner of Honeycomb. So that's Honeycomb, a very simple tile placement game, going back and forth, placing the pips and trying to align them as best as possible. Now, obviously, if you don't match them, you're just not going to get any points. You don't suffer any negative effects, and you're not going to be considered to be a illegal move. However, there are a bunch of other games. Let's go ahead and talk about another one. This game is going to be called Rings, and Rings is a unique game where you're trying to build rings around the board, connecting equal pips on each of these hexes to make sure they match, and making rings. And when you make rings, you're going to be able to score points based on the rings you make, with your opponents going back and forth, just similar to Honeycomb, but in a very unique strategy of where you're trying to decide, do you want to place this, and are you going to have this next piece? Anyway, let me go ahead and show you how the game works. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the setup for Rings. Rings is another interesting game that's similar to Honeycomb, but a little more difficult. And these games kind of get a little more difficult, a little more tricky as you go along. So yet again, you're going to set up with these guys here, your little hexes, set up in any stack you want. And I brought my own little tokens here, which I'm sure they'll provide you. If not, you just find something from home. But you got the different colors for each player. There'll be a 3-player game, red, blue, and yellow. Then every single player is going to take 3 of these tiles here from the draw pile, just like this. And 1, 2, 3. And that's going to be their hand to draw from. Afterwards, they're going to take one of the little tiles from here and place it face down or face up onto the board to create the starting board. And each player is going to do that in turn. Instead of actually drawing from here, though, I've already got a setup, which I'm just going to do to make life a little easier for all of us. So the first player will play here. just like that. The next player is going to draw from here and place here. Now, obviously, if one of the tiles here is actually not able to match anywhere, they'll discard that one and draw a new one. But for us, we've got the little example already set up, so we're not going to need to do that. Just like that. Perfect. Now we've got the setup. Then it's going to go in the same aspect as Honeycomb, where you're going to you're going to play one of your tiles from your hand onto the board, and then you're going to draw a tile from here. And the objective of the game is pretty simple. So in turn order, we're going to keep going along just like that. 1 player, 2 players, and bam, 3 players. And that will make a ring. Players don't have to actually make continuous rings. They can build off in any direction they want, provided they can make rings, and they can't place something like right here, but they can place off of the branches going outward. So the person who would place the last piece is going to be the player who gets the spot, much like those little line connecting games as kids. So if it was the red player, he would do that. And continuing to go again, player's going to place another one from their hand. I'm just going to go ahead and do our little example pieces here. And another player is going to place one from their hand. And you see these pips have to match exactly. If they don't match exactly, then you can't use them. You have to draw something else. You can choose on your turn, if you don't have anything that matches or you don't like the matches you have, to discard one of your tiles here, discard upward, and draw a new tile. In which case, the next player would go and create their own piece here. And then the final player, for our little example, is going to place here. Every tile is matching. The final player that did that, let's say they were blue, would place another point scoring here. Players will go throughout all of the tiles, either until they're all discarded or all placed on the field, and the player with the most amount of these little tokens here inside the rings are going to be the winner. Alright guys, so that's 2 examples of the mini games you can play in Sedis. Honeycomb, which is a fairly simple game. You're just matching those pips together as best as you can to score as many points as you possibly can. And as you're matching them together, you're going to get those points. The next person's going to get those points. And after all the tiles have been placed, then you're going to get the tally of all the points, and whoever has the most wins. As well as rings, which you're simply making rings, and you have to match those pips up exactly. And if you don't, you discard, and you'll draw a new hexagon. And at the end of the game, after all of the tiles have been placed, the person with the most rings with their little token in the center is the winner of the game. There's also an additional game in just this little rule book, which is called Spokes, a very interesting game that involves placing tiles that go outwards in kind of like a spoke of a bicycle kind of style, and you can move them up or down with using energy. And even more difficult, more explanatory game that's involved, but there's so many wonderful games in this. Let me tell you exactly what I think about the game Sedis. Alright, so Sedis, a very interesting game by Nerfer Games. It does remind me a lot like a mechanic more than the game itself. It has a ton of games in it, obviously, and as you're picking these games and choosing a bit from them, there's easier games to play with younger people, and there's more difficult and complicated games to play with those people that are more used to games like dominoes, where you're sitting there deciding, what piece am I going to play? This piece is going to give me the best, or is this piece? And for me, I liked Honeycombs a lot because it was very easy for me to understand. I put the pips down as best as I can, I get the most points I can. And where I actually, when I played the Rings game, I'm sitting there going, I don't have any of the pieces I need, and I'm drawing, I can't find them. And then my other partner friend, he's playing on his side, and he's just putting them down, no problem. Bing, bing, bing. I keep getting more and more and more, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, why? And still very, very fun, very, very interesting. And as the more games get more intricate, the more you're really stressing out. Either way, fun though, and you can go back and forth between the games that you enjoy yourself personally, which is what I'll probably do with this set here. Now, also, like I said, there's so many games that you can choose from, and you can go on their site, I'm sure, and find more games, and they'll probably show you on the Kickstarter all the different kinds of games, as well as making your own games, which I think is very unique about this as well. And the way these are set up with these pips is there's such a huge amount of combinations that you can use to make different games and to make them unique. And I like the idea of stacking them. It's another interesting thing that changes this game, because you're going to ask, you're going to say, why would I get Sedis as opposed to dominoes or a deck of cards or whatever? And the reason is simple. I mean, this is a lot more modern, and it has a lot more capabilities of how you can play them with the stacking, or how you can play them with the tons of various different options you'll have in order to make different games. is really, really nice. Really, really fun. And I really, really like the fact that when you're able to relax and sit down, you can play this specific game, and a little more complicated, you can play this specific game. The wood is also a nice touch as well. I enjoy that. I think the component quality is nice, and I like the bag aspect. I also like the idea that you can actually dig into a bag and pull out a random one and place it down. That could be another mechanic. You can just sit there and use tons of different mechanics that come to mind while you're making your own specific game for Sedis, as well as the tons of games that are already available for it. Like I said, I like the component quality. I like all the games that I've played so far. They're very, very enjoyable. And the question to you is basically, do you enjoy games like dominoes? Do you enjoy games that involve that abstract feel of placing down tiles and drawing new tiles? And if you do enjoy that, you're going to definitely enjoy this game. And also, there's going to be certain games you're going to enjoy a lot more than other games, obviously, because they're going to fit your fancy. And they do all have a different feel, which is very, very unique and very, very awesome. So, my recommendation for Sedis is very high if you like those kind of games, and I really enjoy this unique abstract game mechanic that has tons of games in it. Alright guys, thanks for watching another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review, or game mechanic review, game Sedis. If you like this game, go ahead and check out the description below, or check out the rest of our YouTube videos for more content just like that. Like, subscribe, and comment please. Everything helps. Everything helps. Every click and share. Very, very helpful to me, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget to check out our website, unfilteredgamer.com. We've got tons of board games and giveaways and lists and Kickstarter lists, and you'll be able to find all the Kickstarter games you could ever imagine without having to go to the site and search for them. It's all right there for you, which is really nice. Also, don't forget to check out all of our sponsors, which are located right here. Tons of sponsors. They've got tons of board game giveaways. They got tons of content, blog posts, even more than my site. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And once again, I look forward to seeing you next time.